my page. So today's episode, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you get all the notifications of when I post and or go live. So on today's video, we're going to go over multiple topics. We're going to start off with love magic, and then we're going to go into oppression and... Sorry, AC sounded weird. Spiritual oppression and, well, possession. So, love magic. Is it wrong? Is it right? What even is it? Okay, so for one, to start this off, everybody that you come across, especially as a spiritual or a witchy practitioner, you are going to get a different answer or a different response because inherently it goes with the ethics and the moral compass of said practitioner. Now, I did want to state that there are over 100, probably 1,000 different types of love magic. Most people, when they hear of a love spell, they automatically go to you're making somebody fall in love with you or you're forcing feelings upon somebody who doesn't naturally have them. And I agree, that is going against somebody's free will. With that being said, though, because I myself in my own practice or even in my customer practice, I do not do that type of spells. Whether it's love magic or not, I do not take somebody's... Let me finish what I was about to say first. So, when we talk about going against somebody's free will, the way that most people explain that, it's complicated due to the fact that technically, and yes, there are practitioners who also believe this as well, when you do a spell to, say, get a promotion at your job, or you glamour your application to make sure they pick it, you're technically using magic to go against everybody else's free will because you're using magic to get the upper hand. So with that being said, like I said before, due to trauma that I've experienced throughout my life, I would never take away somebody's free will. Okay, so with that being said, what happens if you were to do a spell like that? Now, I categorize those types of love spells under two categories: a domination spell and an obsession spell. Now, with that being said, you can do domination spells. That's not technically going against somebody's free will necessarily. That's a little gray area, again, depending on where the ethics and the moral of the witch is. With that being said, though, in my experience, or shall I say, of other experiences of other practitioners, and stories that I've heard, what normally winds up happening is, it's kind of an old saying that I was always brought up to like hear, which is the saying, you never leave the person you love for the person you like, because the person you like is going to leave you for the person they actually love. Kind of the same thing when it comes to that spell. What winds up happening is either one to two things in most of the situations. One of them being that the person who initially wanted the spell done, come to find out, a lot of the times it was just kind of a infatuation, like a crush. By the way, if you're in a relationship, depending on how your relationship is, if you develop a crush on somebody else, like a work buddy or something like that, the moment you tell your significant other about that crush, it goes away. I don't know, it's weird. It does, though. It completely goes away. That infatuation completely goes away. Now, if you were to do that spell or have somebody do that spell, and if they did it properly, yeah, it would work for a certain amount of time. What winds up happening are the experiences that I've, either heard or by proxy seen, is one, the person who originally wanted the spell, that infatuation and or those feelings eventually fade off. Normally within a 6 month to a year time, if that. But what winds up happening is, depending on how the spell's done, when you do a spell like that, you're kind of initially bonding yourself together or binding yourself together to a degree. So what winds up happening is this person A, who initially wanted the spell for person B, this person no longer has those feelings anymore, but this person, due to the fact that magic is still working, does. Now, try walking away from that. It's going to follow you. What I mean by that, you've seen, I'm pretty sure anybody has seen those relationships with people where they're kind of really good together, but it becomes toxic, and then they wind up getting into this like insanity loop where they break up because they realize they're not good for each other, and then they come back to each other because they're drawn to each other. That normally happens. Now, the other thing that can happen with that, and this is what I always like to tell anybody who is doing any type of spell work on somebody else, always try to figure out where their psyche's at, because spells like obsession and things like that, if a person already has any type of stress or anything like that going on up here, it can actually elevate that. And what winds up happening is you get the situations to where that person doesn't get the hint and won't get the hint, and makes basically they become obsessive, they become stalkering and harassing and all of that. Normally it ends very, very badly. Obviously, there are some cases where it may end very well, but I've not really heard of a lot of those successful ones. Either that, or even if they're still in a relationship, the initial person who wanted it winds up cheating, or that other person winds up cheating while also still wanting to have this person. Now, like I said before, there are different types of love spells. There is a love spell to respark the spark in a relationship that you're already in. There are spells that you can create or even find to where you're finding your next chapter. So you're not summoning your soulmate, you're not summoning your twin flame, and please, dear God, before you even do a type of spell like that, please make sure you understand the difference between twin flame and soulmate, because there is a difference. Let me know if you would like me to make a video in my perception of that. But yeah, there are multiple love spells that you can do to where it's not necessarily making somebody fall in love with you and or even intensifying the feelings that that person may already have, whether that's a slight crush or they're actually in love with you and there's still that block there. Now, I have been in situations to where I could have totally used magic like that, but the way my brain works, I would always question, well, are they with me because of the magic? Are they with me because they want to be with me? So yeah, that's where love magic is. And again, like I said in the beginning of this video, when it comes to the ethics and the moral compass, that's the type of magic that depends on where the witch is when it comes to their ethics or morals. Now, another one that I wanted to talk about, two other subjects that I wanted to talk about, is spiritual possession and spiritual oppression. Now, a lot of people, when they hear a possession, they automatically think of the term demon, which I hate. Fucking hate that term. I do not use it. It's too much of a broad term. Not to mention, when you hear the term demon, most people automatically go to the church or Catholicism. Um, and that's not inherently true at all. But what winds up happening is a lot of people automatically think that possession is the first thing that happens, and it is inherently not. This can also happen with a land spirit, a trickster spirit. In other words, I'm saying it does not have to be a negative aspect or a negative spirit. Um, and I've actually had an experience with this, and I did not realize it until it was a little bit too late, and then I finally did realize it and got rid of it. What winds up happening, though, if you work with any type of spirit, or if you start working with a spirit, whether they call themselves a god or a goddess or identify as that or what, these are some signs that you need to look out for. So what happens in an oppressive state is the energy, we're going to say the hot spirit, it's going to do everything that it can to separate you from everybody else. That's one of the first things, isolation. It goes from isolation to your the unwanted thoughts that we have, not necessarily intrusive ones, but the ones that, like, if you have anxiety or depression, you know what I mean, or low self-esteem, you know what I mean, where like the voice in your head, the one that we all have, our consciousness, however the fuck you want to word that, that's like, wow, you just did that. Wow, you fucked that up. Wow, everybody hates you. Those thoughts, they're going to get extremely worse. Even if you've never dealt with depression, that's basically what you're about to go through. The reason they want you to isolate you is because if they can get you alone by yourself to where you've cut communication with a lot of your community, your friends, your family, and they get you alone, what they're trying to do is they're trying to find a if you will, a backdoor entrance, if you will, to your psyche. Because a lot of people, that's one of the reasons that experienced practitioners warn people of, hey, do not just go around like trying to experiment or dabble when it comes to certain spirits and energies, because you're going to wind up having to go through this process. What winds up happening during the oppressive stage is they're doing exactly that. They're trying to oppress you. They're trying to break you down, isolate you, get you thinking the negative, nasty thoughts. And what winds up happening is they try to beat you down to the point where you just kind of slip. And that's when they slip in, which causes which then goes into possession. Now, in my experience, full-on possession is extremely rare. Not that it cannot happen, but obviously, before you even try to go to another witch or another priest, full on mental health mode needs to go into effect. Now, this is increased if you already have mental shenanigans like I do. I have complex PTSD disorder, bipolar manic depressive, and a lot of other shit mixed in with that. So I always have to make sure my mental health is at par before I even try to do spiritual work or anything like that. Because a lot of the times that's what winds up happening. Now, obviously, there are more things that go into the oppressive thing where you wind up waking up normally. A small list of a longer list of things because it's going to be different with everybody, but you may start seeing things that are not really there. Not saying hallucinations, but you may start seeing like creepy little shadows that really aren't there. You may start having horrifying vision or dreams, not visions, dreams, horrifying dreams when you sleep, and then you're periodically waking up throughout the night. Again, all of this is part of oppression. They're trying to break your spirit down. They're trying to break you down psychologically and mentally so they can find a way in. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying that all spirits are going to do this, obviously. There are some spirits that will just oppress you and never actually fully possess you. Because, like I said before, full on possession is extremely rare. Not that it's never happened and not that it could not happen. It can, just be very cautious. Um, with that being said, never allow something in your house. Always go on your gut instinct. What do I mean by that? Well, what if I'm not in tune with my gut instinct? You are. You want me to tell you how I know this? Because we all have it. Have you ever had a situation to where from the very beginning or when you arrived at a location, your stomach automatically tied in knots? And it's not anxiety, it's not nervousness, it's like there's something really wrong. It's called your gut feeling. Listen to it when it comes to communicating with spirits. Because when it comes to hot spirits or trickster spirits, they will do exactly that. They will either A, portray themselves as something that they are not to gain your trust. Yes, obviously, if you watch any type of paranormal stuff, most people automatically go into the fact of, oh yeah, they wind up showing up as children. That's not always the case. Um, a true trickster spirit or a true hot spirit is what I like to call them. They will basically figure out what is comfortable to you. Like example for me, if I had a little child spirit ghost pop up here, I would not trust it to begin with because they creep me the fuck out. So obviously, if a trickster spirit were trying to confront me, they would not show up as a child. They would show up as something that I would mortally trust. Um, but with that, though, if you start realizing this, especially the isolation, everything like that, for one, why would a spirit try to isolate you unless it's trying to do something that you're not normally for? You understand what I mean? Why would, like, say, for example, why would your ancestors try to isolate you away from everybody? They wouldn't. So if you start to notice that, obviously take your mental health into account, but if you start to notice that, you need to start reaching out to people. Now, that in itself can become slightly complicated because depending on where the oppressive state is and or yeah, I'm going to say oppressive state, you can have a physical effect of like say every time you try to leave your house, you actually physically get sick, like nauseous or ill or just like everything just kind of goes to shit. It can have that effect on you. Now, I don't really have advice on what to do after that because it depends on the energy and it depends on the situation. You may have to have outside help come in. When I say that, I do not automatically mean the fucking church. Now, if you want to go with the church route, you totally can. I would pick a very open church to do that with. And the reason I'm stating that is because a lot of the stigma around it is, oh, go ahead and go to your Bible. And yes, I understand, especially as a folk practitioner, there are multiple people that do use their Bible in their practice. The only problem is not all spirits recognize Christianity, if you will. So either A, they're going to look at you and be like, what the fuck is that supposed to do? Or B, it's actually going to piss them off or irritate them worse, and it's going to make your life worse. But yeah, listen to your body. If you notice things are starting to like just feel off and shit like that, obviously you're going to know yourself better than I do. And you always have to count mental health when it comes into this. I cannot express that enough. So yeah, and that's one of the reasons that we say that spiritual psychosis or anything like that is extremely easy to fall into, especially if you already have mental shenanigans and that is coming from somebody who already has mental shenanigans. We always have to have one foot in reality and one foot in the other. Now, if you do think that is happening, you need to pull as much confidence and energy up in you as you can, and you need to address that hot spirit, as in it is your property, your space, your place, your house. They need to get the fuck out. Then you can also call upon your ancestors if you work with them, any deities that you work with, and or your spirit guides to basically help that along. You can also burn herbs. No, I'm not talking about white sage. I'm talking about rose petals because it's great for exorcisms. You have rosemary that's also great for cleansings and scrubbing some of that negativity out. Um, so yeah, just please be careful, listen, and even if you have a very very close knitted like group of friends, if they start to tell you when you start working with something that like something feels a little bit off, I'm not saying automatically believe them, but don't automatically shut them down either, because in these situations, normally it actually does take somebody on the outside to actually view in of saying, hey, there's something going on right now and it's not okay. So, yeah, quick video, I know, I'm trying to keep these quick. But yeah, that's my advice on love spells, spiritual um, oppression and deep, oppression and possession. There we go. Brain's a little slow today. But yeah, thank y'all so much for watching this. If you've made it to this moment, either drop your favorite spooky emoji and or tell me your favorite month of the year. There we go. And if you like this content, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So, like I said before, you get all the notifications of when I post or go live. And if at any point in time you would like to book a reading with me, oracle reading, or any type of custom spell work, all of that will be linked below in the description. Also, along with my link tree, you can find my magical library, all the books that I have in my practice, and then you can find all my other socials and all of that. So, yeah, thank y'all so much. And if you would like to see me make a specific video, drop it in the comments of this video, and as soon as I can, I will make a video if I know enough about the subject. So yeah, until then, I'll talk to y'all later and see you later, and I hope you're all having an amazing day and or noon and or night.